What's up everybody? This is Coach Geckos, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you what it's like to own and live with a LEACHIANUS gecko. So I have in the past done several videos specifically on LEACHIANUS oriented care. I did a video on how I choose to handle my LEACHIANUS safely, because those of you who are with my channel know Titan's kind of a spitfire and can be super cage aggressive. And I've also done a video where I used him as an actor in my ledge competition, where I was comparing different types of reptile ledges. So the video today that I'm going to be doing will be sort of similar to those videos, but it's going to be geared more towards what modifications I've made to his terrarium and what sorts of things you can expect your LEACHIANUS gecko to do, strictly because of their huge size and pretty great strength. So I thought I'd give you guys a close-up view because you really haven't seen Titan up close in a little while. Just weighed him. He's sitting at about 290 grams, so still got a little bit more growing to do, as he is a Pine Island LEACHIANUS gecko. But all in all, a really healthy animal. Eats his Pangea, eats the crickets I give him. I usually try to give him a dozen crickets a week. Just whenever another gecko doesn't eat, I pretty much give him those crickets. He's kind of my cleanup crew. But as you can see here along his back and up on his head, he's got really awesome and beautiful pink splotches. That's probably my favorite part of him. Just a really neat animal. Tons of kind of a cool camouflage pattern. Looks just like cork bark, which I have a feeling is intentional, because in the wild you're going to find these animals hanging out at the base in the middle column of trees. So they're going to be, obviously, they need some type of camouflage to protect them from predators. And this olive brown texture and coloration is really going to do the trick, and just a beautiful animal. LEACHIANUS have become incredibly popular as pets lately on YouTube. It's super evident because there's tons and tons of videos of LEACHIANUS owners making videos of their leechies, so I thought I'd join in on the game. Make sure to go check out my video, Do LEACHIANUS Geckos Make Good Pets? Because I'm not really going to go into that today. Just go check that video out. I'll leave it in the description and at the end of the video. But it's a great video explaining to you whether or not you should make the investment and purchase yourself one of these Goliath geckos that I have here in my hands. So Titan's a little upset right now. He's been out of his home for a while and he's ready to get back in there so he can have a good reason to bite me. So let's go ahead and put him back in this cage, and I'll start breaking down my analysis of what you need to do and things that I have done to modify my LEACHIANUS' enclosure and habitat to help me and to help this thing. Go ahead and set Titan back up in his cage. I thought he'd be a little more excited to go in. You ready, buddy? What do you say? Are you waving goodbye? I think so. Go ahead. So this terrarium right here is where we'll be spending the majority of our time today. It is an 18 by 18 by 24 front opening Exoterra tank. So if you remember me saying at the beginning of the video, I placed Titan, who's now in this cage to my right, in a tub that I have on the floor right behind me. I'm going to show you the amount of destruction that he laid on this tub setup in just a few hours, just to kind of give you an example of when you're owning a LEACHIANUS gecko, you really need to invest or try your hardest to make a sturdy, durable setup, because these animals, while not intentionally, are very destructive, can walk around and just mess up the small intricacies of your setup, so you got to plan for that. So this right here, guys, is the big old tub that I put all my animals in, whether I'm cleaning their cage, giving them a bath, or just prepping them for a video. Upon a closer look and inspection, you can see exactly what Titan has managed to do in a 12-hour period. So what I did last night, I was just kind of giving him the bare minimum because I knew he wouldn't be in here very long. I didn't even put paper towel on the bottom. That was partly out of laziness and partly out of just wanting to show you exactly all that he could do in one night. As you can see here, he's knocked his ledge off the wall, which has surprised me a little bit because he can't knock it off the glass in his actual terrarium, so I'm not sure how he managed to do that. I think he was just extra feisty because I put him in this blue box. He tipped over, of course, all of his insects. I give him these freeze-dried insects in a cup right here for him to get some extra protein, which he eats occasionally. He managed to get that everywhere around the cage. And finally, the finishing touch, as you can see, right next to the wood where it will stain. Titan did this, and that's a pretty common occurrence with Titan and with all LEACHIANUS geckos, as I've read. They do go to the bathroom pretty often, and when they do, It's pretty noticeable. That's most likely stress poop, as I like to call it. When you place a reptile in a new environment that they're not familiar with, or an animal in an environment where they're not familiar with it, they will oftentimes relieve stress or show a sign of stress by defecating. I believe that that's what that is, because that doesn't look like his usual poop. It's important to note throughout this video that I'm talking from a sample size of 1 Leachianus. I'm not trying to give Leachianus a bad name, because I think they're great pets and really beautiful animals. But just keep in mind that I have 1 Leachianus, so I have 1 experience with 1 gecko. Something I've noticed with Titan regarding the poop right here, oftentimes when I take him out of his terrarium, he's kind of in a fluster because I had to not violently but forcefully remove him from his cage, because as you've seen in my how I handle my Leachianus gecko video, it's kind of difficult to get him out in a very calm manner. Summary, guys, you can see exactly what this animal was managed to do in 1 night. He also moved that log over, which isn't that surprising because it's pretty light and they're pretty strong and have grippy fingers. So guys, let's head over to his actual setup and I'll show you how I managed to, or almost managed to, keep this thing fully intact almost all the time. So guys, when I decided to go and build a terrarium for my Leachianus gecko, I decided to craft a vivarium, bioactive, naturalistic terrarium. Most people, or a lot of people I should say, probably not most, but it's probably 50-50. The other 50% decides to go with an artificial setup where they can more easily clean objects, more easily move around and remove the objects, which there is absolutely no issue with that. If anything, it's more sterile and obviously more easy to clean than what I have in front of me. This video is going to be geared to those primarily who are getting a Leachianus and deciding how to build their enclosure. And if they're deciding to go with the naturalistic route, I've got a few tips that I have incorporated just to make this terrarium a little sturdier, and then I'll show you a couple of the cleaning tips and just random facts that I've kind of picked up just from pure experience with this roughhouser right here. So guys, if you're going to go the vivarium route with a Leachianus gecko, there's a few plants that I recommend you go with, and that primarily is going to be the Sansevieria plant. So because of their durability, these Sansevieria, or snake plants as some people call them, are going to make a really excellent choice for vivariums for a Leachianus gecko. As you can see here in the back, I've got another one. This one's a little bit bigger, and he's managed to, or not managed to, tear up either one of them, which is super exciting. They are not the most beautiful plants in the world. They don't really give off any vibrant coloration except for your standard green. As you can see here, this Sansevieria's got some pink, or excuse me, yellow striping going down, and I know there is a variety with some dark green stripes that go laterally across the plant, and I'm obviously not a Sansevieria expert, so there's probably some different hybrids or whatever they're called that I'm sure you could find to suit your eye. But if you are going to try to find a plant that is going to have a little more beauty, like this pink plant right here, you're going to have to take some precautions, or at least I have found that you're going to have to take some precautions to ensure your animal doesn't tear up these viney plants, because they definitely can. So as you can see right here with this viney plant, as it started to grow out, Titan would knock it off all the time. He would just tear up the roots, because it is growing around this cork flat. It's having to latch itself into the plant itself, and oftentimes if the plant roots would grow into this clay piece over here, he would come over and knock off the clay when it dried. So it kind of just became a mess and was difficult to deal with. So what I decided to do was get a little bit of fishing line and tie a few knots and wrap the plant to the cork flat itself. He's going to try to bite me. Just to give it a little bit more stability, and even Titan, the mighty Titan, couldn't get this to fall off or remove it. When I built this Leachianus terrarium, much to my regret, I decided to go with a fully clay background. The entire back was all clay, and that was a huge mistake. I recommend all of you guys stay very clear of that, because the clay would dry quickly, and because of his destructive nature, just simply climbing around, he would jump up on the wall and the pieces would fall off, and I was worried he was either going to hurt himself, and I was also stressing out because I had to clean the terrarium almost every day. So if you plan on constructing a Leachianus terrarium background, I highly recommend you either go with a great stuff foam background or a simple Exoterra background, or maybe even a stone background of concrete, or just something much sturdier, something that can withstand lower humidity. Not that these Leachianuses don't need high humidity. Their humidity requirements just aren't high enough to maintain a clay background. I have several clay pieces still in this terrarium just to simply cover up the great stuff foam that I used to construct the hardware or the largest parts of this terrarium, but that's just used to cover it up. And because of his strength, when he moves around and it dries, if I don't water it enough, and by water I mean water or moisten the clay, he'll just knock it off and leave a bunch of bare patches exposing the great stuff foam, which is not that attractive. So I very often have to clean those spots up by covering them up with new fresh clay, and that's just a little tedious and kind of a pain in the butt. So I just wanted to warn you guys to steer clear of clay backgrounds. Something else to take into consideration, like I said earlier, is the sturdiness of your terrarium. All of these pieces, this piece and this piece, that piece and that piece, are all conjoined using great stuff foam, which is a very sturdy material that hardly a person could rip apart. So that has never been a structural issue for me, but something that I have had a hard time with is this cork flat piece right here. Very often when the clay, as you can see here, this is new clay, indicating that I've just recently added it. Every time the clay would itself dry, Titan would come down here, because he often comes down here just to climb around at night and explore. He would knock these clay pieces off, causing this whole cork flat to fall forward, and then leading to the Sansevieria plant itself to start to lean and come uprooted. So the way I decided to prevent this from happening was implant a nail into the cork flat, and this worked for a very, very long time. I believe this is like a 4-inch nail, so it's really in there. You don't have to worry about it coming out and puncturing him or anything like that, because it's very far into the substrate. So I haven't had to worry about it falling out, and even with the clay not there, it still stays in there. So that's just kind of showing you guys that sometimes you have to use a little bit of ingenuity and just figure out different ways to ensure that the terrarium itself is not going to fall apart due to your Leachianus's weight. So like I said, I had issues with this falling down. Titan would knock it off. Titan would knock pieces of this off, leaves, break apart, magnolia leaves. He would just do all kinds of stuff, which is pretty casual. There's no big deal in that. I expect that. But all the trash would fall into this one little area right here, which is actually super convenient, because I can simply just reach down there and grab it and then pick all these pieces up and then throw it into the trash, which is to my right. So not only do I recommend leaving a space for you to drain your drainage layer in case you flood your terrarium, along with the drainage aspect, you're going to have almost like a little trash pile where your animals' debris and any type of remnants from the cage are going to fall down into one centralized location, giving you an easy opportunity to clean up the terrarium. I have already made a specific video on ledges that I believe are suitable for Leachianus geckos and other Rhactodactylus geckos like crested and gargoyles. But just in summary, I really like this Magnaturals ledge. The magnets are very strong. It's a sturdy object. He can't scrape it up. He can't weigh it down to the point where he falls and hurts himself. And it's very easy to clean. So that's just a quick rundown of the ledge that I like. You really need to find a safe, good feeding platform for your Leachianus. Something else that I think is worth noting, that, like I said earlier in the video, these animals in the wild are going to be found in tree hollows, on the bases of trees, just dead trees in general. I want to make sure that when my Leachianus gecko was hiding in this big cork hollow that he felt comfortable and felt enclosed. So what I decided to do was get some of this aquarium background paper, or I think it's more of a plastic, and simply wrap it around in the back, just to ensure that my Leachianus gecko felt entirely enclosed when in that hollow. Otherwise it wouldn't be much of a hide, because if there's two open sides and only one enclosed side, your gecko is still going to feel like he's out in the open. So guys, that kind of wraps up all the modifications and things that I've noticed with Leachianus behavior that can affect the way your terrarium layout should be created. The point of this video is to simply be cognizant of your terrarium. I would not recommend making the most intricate, beautiful terrarium I did try to do this with this animal right here to my right, my LEACHIANUS gecko, by putting in lots of moss, smaller spider plants, tillandsias, grasses, and you can already tell me what he did. Knock it down. You have to appropriate each setup to each animal. These LEACHIANUS geckos can be destructive, while not intentionally. They are just a little clumsy and they move around quite a bit. You just have to set up the cage in a durable fashion. Finding a balance between making a really attractive enclosure, if that's the route you're going, and ensuring that the cage is durable is a fine balance that I have struggled to meet. But at the current given moment, I think I've done a decent job. But like I said, you want to steer clear of all the small plants, all the easily breakable plants, clay backgrounds. You just want to play it safe and just make a strong, well-built enclosure. So that pretty much wraps up this video. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. I know you guys really dig the LEACHIANUS content. Make sure to go down below and comment on more LEACHIANUS videos that you want to see specifically. If not already, we are soon to surpass 2,600 subscribers, which is totally bizarre. I love every single one of you guys who has subscribed to my channel. If you haven't yet, I'm still trying to figure out what you're doing. You need to go ahead and subscribe. Join the Country Geckos family. You won't regret it. As always, guys, go down low, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn on post notifications, and drop a comment if you want to. As always, guys, this is Country Geckos. I'll see y'all in the next one.